Jin-tae stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, his hands clenched behind his back. The room was enormous, with walls that seemed to stretch forever. 12 alien species sat in a circle around him, each one looking down from their high seats. Their faces were different from each other, some with scales, some with fur, some with skin that glowed faintly in the dim light. But they all wore the same expression: judgment. "The vote is complete," said the council speaker, a tall being with 4 arms. "Humanity is hereby expelled from council space. You have 10 standard years to remove all your colonies and return to your home system." Jin felt his stomach drop. Behind him, Ambassador Hana Wu gasped. She had spent 3 hours arguing their case, explaining that humans meant no harm, that they only wanted to trade and learn and live among the stars. It had not mattered. "This is wrong," Hana said, her voice shaking with anger and sadness. "We have followed every rule. We have paid every fee. We have harmed no one." "You are too dangerous," another council member said. This one looked like a giant bird with silver feathers. "You expand too quickly. You build too many weapons. You ask too many questions. The council has decided. Humanity is not ready to join us." "Not ready?" Commander Dae-sung spoke up from the back of the room. He was the head of Earth's defense fleet, a soldier who had fought in the colony wars. "We have been here for 50 years. We have 12 colonies in council space. We have children born here who have never seen Earth. You cannot just throw us out." "We can," the speaker said simply. "And we have. The barriers will go up in 10 years. Any human found in council space after that will be arrested. This decision is final." Jin looked at his daughter Yuna, who sat in the visitor section. She was only 12 years old. She had grown up on Station Proxima, where humans and aliens lived side by side. Her best friend was a small green alien named Pip. Now she was crying, and Pip was trying to hold her hand through the barrier that separated visitors from the main floor. The walk back to their ship felt like a funeral march. Nobody spoke. Hana kept wiping her eyes. Dae-sung's jaw was tight with anger. Jin just felt numb. That night, Jin sat with Yuna in their quarters. She had cried herself to sleep, and he watched her breathe slowly in the darkness. Through the window, he could see the beautiful lights of Station Proxima, a place that had been their home for 5 years. Soon they would have to leave it all behind. "Dad?" Yuna's voice was small in the dark. "Why do they hate us?" "They don't hate us," Jin said, though he was not sure if that was true. "They're afraid of us." "Why?" Jin thought about this. "Because we're different, because we do things our own way, because we're new and we're growing fast, and that scares them." "Will we ever come back?" Jin looked out at the stars. "I don't know, sweetheart. I don't know." The next 10 years were chaos. Every human colony had to pack up and leave. Families were torn apart. Businesses collapsed. People who had spent their whole lives in council space had to return to a solar system many had never seen. Dae-sung organized the Great Convoy, hundreds of ships all heading back to Earth. Jin helped coordinate the logistics, making sure everyone had food and water and medicine for the long journey. Hana worked day and night, trying to negotiate with the council for more time, for exceptions, for anything. They gave her nothing. On the last day, Jin stood on the bridge of the final transport ship. Behind them, the quantum barriers were powering up. They were massive walls of energy that would seal off council space completely. No human ship could pass through them. No human signal could get through. They would be cut off, alone, isolated. "All ships accounted for," Dae-sung reported. "We're ready to go." "Then take us home," Jin said quietly. The ship turned away from council space. Yuna pressed her face against a window, watching the barriers shimmer to life behind them. Jin put his hand on her shoulder. "Listen to me," he said. "They think they're protecting themselves by pushing us away. They think we'll fail without them. But they're wrong. How do you know? Yuna asked. Jin smiled, though it was a sad smile. Because humans are survivors. We have always been survivors. When the world pushes us down, we get back up. When people tell us we can't do something, we find a way to do it anyway. The council thinks they're punishing us, but they've actually set us free. Free to do what? Free to be everything we can be, Jin said, without their rules, without their limits, without their fear holding us back. The ship jumped to faster than light speed, and council space disappeared behind them. Ahead lay Earth, the solar system, and a future that suddenly felt wide open. The council had forced humanity away, thinking they were solving a problem. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. Jin made a promise to himself that night, watching the stars rush past. Humanity would not just survive this exile, they would thrive. And one day, the council would realize their terrible mistake. One day, they would beg humanity to come back. But when that day came, it would be on humanity's terms, not theirs. 50 years had passed since the exile. Dr. Mina Han stood in her laboratory on Earth, staring at the impossible equation on her screen. Around her, younger scientists worked quietly, running tests and checking data. But Mina was focused on one thing only: the problem that had consumed her life for the past decade. It should work, she whispered to herself. The math is perfect. Her assistant, a young man named Quan, looked up from his station. Are you talking about the jump drive again? It has to work, Mina said. She pulled up the simulation one more time. The council uses jump gates to travel between stars, but those gates control everything. They decide who goes where, who trades with who has power. That's why they could cut us off so easily. So you're building a drive that doesn't need their gates? Exactly. Mina's eyes were bright with excitement. A ship with this drive can jump from any point in space to any other point. No gates, no council control. Complete freedom. Quan frowned. The council said that was impossible. They said the physics don't work. Mina smiled. The council also said humans were too primitive to understand advanced technology. I think they were lying. I think they kept certain discoveries secret so nobody could challenge them. 3 months later, the first test was ready. A small probe with Mina's new drive attached to it. The entire scientific community of Earth watched as it powered up. There was a flash of light, and the probe vanished. For 10 seconds, there was silence. Then the probe appeared again, exactly where they had calculated it would be. 3 light years away, then back again. The crowd erupted in cheers. Mina sat down and cried. Humanity had just changed everything. While Mina was breaking the laws of physics, Hyun-jun was breaking the laws of nature. He stood on the surface of a dead planet called Titan's Rest, watching massive machines pump life into the frozen ground. Hyun had spent 20 years developing new terraforming technology, methods that could turn a wasteland into a garden in just decades instead of the centuries the council needed. Temperature rising on schedule, his team leader reported. Atmosphere is thickening. We should have liquid water on the surface within 6 months. Hyun watched as the gray sky slowly started to turn blue. When humans had first been exiled, everyone thought they would be trapped in the solar system forever. 9 planets and some moons. That was it. But Hyun had proven them wrong. Using Mina's jump drives, they could reach new worlds. And using his terraforming, they could make those worlds home. How many planets now? Someone asked. This is number 47, Hyun said proudly. And we have another 100 identified for the next phase. What the council did not understand was that exile had freed humanity from more than just physical barriers. For decades, humans had followed council rules about what technology was allowed, what experiments were too dangerous, what questions should not be asked. Now, With no one to tell them no, human scientists pushed boundaries everywhere. Dr. J. Woon developed artificial intelligence that could think and learn and create. The Council had banned this technology, calling it too risky, but J's AI helped design better ships, solve complex problems, and even compose music that made people cry. Dr. Soman Park pioneered genetic enhancements that could cure diseases and extend human life. The Council had said this was unethical. But Soman's work meant that people could live longer, healthier lives. Old Captain Jin, now 90 years old, was still healthy and active thanks to her treatments. Engineer Bo Ra created cybernetic implants that helped injured people walk again, see again, hear again. The Council had strict limits on such technology, but Bo Ra's work gave hope to millions. The isolation years were hard, but they were also liberating. Humanity was alone, but they were free. And in that freedom, they discovered what they could truly become. Captain Rena Sung represented the next generation. She was Jin Tae's granddaughter, born during the journey back to Earth. She had never seen Council space, but she had heard all the stories. Now she commanded the exploration ship Pioneer, the first vessel to venture beyond even the Council's known territories. "Sensors picking up a star system ahead," her navigator said. 7 planets, no Council presence detected. "Take us in slowly," Rena ordered. "Let's see what we can find." What they found was incredible. 3 of the planets were rich with rare minerals. One had conditions perfect for colonization. The system was empty, unclaimed, and full of resources. Over the next decade, Rena and others like her discovered hundreds of such systems. Earth became the center of a growing empire, not an empire built on conquest, but one built on innovation and expansion. Human colonies spread in every direction, each one connected by Mina's jump drives, each one transformed by Hyun's terraforming. Within 50 years of the exile, humanity had 200 thriving colonies. The population boomed. Without Council restrictions on colony size and growth rates, families could expand as they wished. Human culture flourished in ways it never had before. Artists, musicians, writers, and thinkers created new works that blended old Earth traditions with the reality of life among the stars. Trade between human colonies was efficient and fair. Without the Council's complex tariffs and regulations, goods flowed freely. Everyone prospered. The quality of life on even the poorest human world was higher than it had been during the Council years. Mina sat in a cafe on Mars, now a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green forests. She was old now, her hair white, but her mind was still sharp. A young journalist had come to interview her. "Do you ever regret what happened?" the journalist asked. "Do you wish the Council had let us stay?" Mina thought about this question carefully. "No," she finally said. "The exile was the best thing that ever happened to humanity. They thought they were pushing us into the dark. But they actually freed us from their limitations. Everything we've built, everything we've discovered, everything we've become, none of it would have been possible under Council rule." "Do you think we'll ever see them again?" Mina smiled. "Oh, I'm sure we will. And when we do, they're going to be very surprised at what they find." She had no idea how right she was. The Council chamber looked the same as it had 70 years ago, but everything else had changed. The 12-member species sat in their high seats, but now they argued with each other constantly. The unity that had once defined the Council was gone. "The Vren Empire has seized another 3 systems," announced Council Speaker Lyra, her forearms gesturing in frustration. "That is 15 systems in the past 2 years. They refuse to acknowledge our authority." "What can we do?" asked Representative Cole, the bird-like alien. "Our military forces are spread too thin. We don't have enough ships to enforce the borders." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Everyone knew the truth. but nobody wanted to say it out loud. Once, they would have called on humanity to help. Human military forces had been the backbone of Council security. Human soldiers were fierce, creative, and willing to fight when others would not. But the humans were gone now, locked away behind the barriers the Council had built. "Perhaps we could negotiate with the Vren," suggested a small, furry alien named Wex. "Offer them trade concessions in exchange for respecting our borders." "We already tried that," Lyra said wearily. "They rejected our offer. They said the old council is weak and dying. They said a new order is coming, and they will lead it." The truth was painful but obvious. Without humanity, the council's military power had collapsed. Other species were peaceful by nature or too small to field large armies. Humans had been different. They had understood warfare in ways that made other species uncomfortable. But that understanding had kept the peace. Now, with humans gone, aggressive species like the Vren saw an opportunity. Trade was collapsing too. Station Proxima, once a bustling center of commerce, was now half empty. Shops were closed. Markets were quiet. The problem was simple. Humans had been the best traders. They had been willing to go anywhere, deal with anyone, take risks that other species avoided. They had connected the Council's economy in ways nobody had fully appreciated until they were gone. "Imports are down 60%, reported the Council's economic advisor. "Many colonies are experiencing shortages of basic goods. The transport companies cannot keep up with demand." "Why not?" Lyra asked. "Because most of the transport companies were run by humans," the advisor said quietly. "When they left, they took their ships, their expertise, and their trade networks with them." Then came the plague. It started on a mining colony in the outer territories and spread quickly. The disease attacked the respiratory systems of most council species. Thousands became sick. Hundreds died. The council's medical experts worked desperately to find a cure, but progress was slow. Dr. Nex, the council's head physician, stood before the assembly with bad news. "We have tested 47 different treatments. None have been effective. The disease continues to spread. We estimate that within a year, it will reach the core worlds." "What do we need?" Lyra asked. Nex hesitated. "There are records of human research into similar diseases. Their medical technology was very advanced, particularly in genetic medicine. If we had access to their databases, we might be able to develop a cure much faster." "But we don't have access," Cole said. "The barriers prevent all communication." Another silence. Another reminder of what they had lost. Junior diplomat Ara Day sat in the council archives, reading through old files. She was young, only recently appointed to her position, and she had been tasked with writing a report on the human exile. The official story was simple. Humans had been dangerous, and removing them had made the council safer. But as Ara dug deeper, she found a different story. She discovered classified documents that showed the Vren Empire had lobbied hard for human expulsion. They had spread rumors about human aggression. They had exaggerated incidents. They had pushed for the vote because they feared human competition. The Vren had seen humanity as a threat to their own ambitions. The other council members had gone along with it because humans made them uncomfortable. Humans asked too many questions. They challenged old ways of thinking. They were too energetic, too ambitious, too different. It had been easier to exile them than to adapt to their presence. Ara felt sick as she read the files. The council had made a terrible mistake and they were paying for it now. She was not the only one investigating the past. Council Agent Tal was a spy, and he had been sent on a dangerous mission. He had managed to cross the quantum barrier using experimental technology. His orders were simple. Find out what had happened to humanity. Were they struggling? Were they weak? Were they gone? What Tal discovered shocked him to his core. He observed a human colony from stealth. The planet was beautiful, with cities that gleamed in the sunlight and ships that moved through the sky with grace and speed. The humans looked healthy and happy. Their technology was advanced, more advanced than anything in Council space. He watched as they launched new ships built with designs he had never seen before. He listened to their communications and heard them discussing plans for expansion, for exploration, for building even more colonies. Tal returned to Council space and filed his report. "They are not struggling," he wrote. "They have not failed. They have thrived. In every measurable way, humanity has surpassed us. Their technology is better. Their economy is stronger. Their territory is larger. We did not punish them with exile. We freed them to become our superiors." The report circulated through the Council's highest levels. Many refused to believe it. Some called Tal a liar. But deep down, they all felt the truth of it. The quantum barriers were starting to fail. Human scientists had learned to manipulate them from outside. Occasionally, a human signal would break through, showing images of their prosperous worlds. The Council was dying, and everyone knew it. The Vren Empire grew bolder every day. The plague continued to spread. Trade was collapsing. Colonies were struggling. And beyond the barriers, humanity was building an empire that would soon dwarf anything the Council had ever achieved. Lyra sat alone in her office, looking at star maps. She could see it clearly now. The Council's territory was marked in blue. It was shrinking, pressed by Vren expansion from one side and economic collapse from within. Beyond the barriers, a new territory was marked in red: human space. It had grown enormous, spreading in every direction. She had been part of the vote 70 years ago. She had voted to exile humanity. At the time, she had believed it was the right choice. Now she understood the truth. They had not removed a problem. They had cut out their own heart. "What have we done?" she whispered to the empty room. Admiral Junho Lee watched the Council ship approach the border. It was old and slow, nothing like the sleek vessels humanity now built. His own flagship, the Phoenix, was a marvel of engineering that would have been impossible 78 years ago. The Council had tried to hold humanity back. Instead, they had pushed humanity forward. "Sir, the Council ship is requesting permission to cross into our territory," his communications officer reported. "Denied," Junho said. "Tell them to stop at the border. We'll meet them there." This was the first contact in 78 years. The Council had finally come knocking. Junho was curious to hear what they wanted, though he already had a good idea. Intelligence reports had shown the Council's collapse, the Vren expansion, the plague, the economic crisis. They were desperate. Good. Junho took a shuttle to the border station, a small outpost humanity had built to monitor the quantum barriers. When he arrived, the Council delegation was already waiting in the meeting room. There were 5 of them, representing different Council species. They all looked tired and worried. Council Speaker Lyra stood at the head of the table. She was old now, her 4 arms moving slowly. Junho recognized her from the historical records. She had been there the day humanity was exiled. She had voted yes. "Admiral Lee," Lyra said, bowing her head, "thank you for agreeing to meet with us." "You asked for a meeting," Junho said, not bothering with pleasantries. "I'm here. Talk." Lyra flinched at his cold tone, but she continued. "We have come to discuss the possibility of humanity rejoining the Galactic Council. We believe that our past decision was made in error. We would like to extend an invitation for humanity to return to Council space." "An invitation," Junho repeated. "Not an apology, not an explanation, an invitation." "We deeply regret what happened," Cole, the bird-like alien, said quickly. "The exile was wrong. We see that now. We would like to make amends. By offering us a seat at your table?" Junho leaned back in his chair. "Tell me something. When you exiled us, what did you think would happen? Did you think we would beg to come back? Did you think we would collapse without you?" "We thought," Lyra started, then stopped. "We made a mistake. You made many mistakes, Junho said. But let's get to the real reason you're here. You don't want us back because you miss us. You need us back because you're falling apart. So tell me the truth. What do you need? The council members looked at each other. Finally, Lyra spoke. We need military assistance. The Vren Empire is expanding aggressively. They have violated council sovereignty repeatedly. We don't have the forces to stop them. What else? Medical assistance, said Nex, the council physician. The plague is spreading. Our people are dying. We have heard that human medical technology has advanced significantly. We hope you might help us develop a cure. And? Economic stabilization, admitted Wex, the small, furry alien. Our trade networks have collapsed. Many colonies are experiencing severe shortages. We need help rebuilding our economy. Junho nodded slowly. So you need our military to protect you. You need our medicine to save you. You need our economy to support you. In other words, you need everything. We are prepared to offer significant concessions, Lyra said. Full council membership, a permanent seat on the ruling council, favorable trade agreements, access to our jump gate network. Junho almost laughed. Your jump gates? We don't need your jump gates. We have our own faster-than-light drives that work better than anything you have. As for council membership, why would we want to join an organization that's clearly dying? Please, Lyra said, and her voice was desperate now. We are asking for your help. Begging, you mean? Yes, Lyra said quietly. We are begging. Is that what you want to hear? We made a terrible mistake. We treated you unfairly. We were wrong. And now we are paying the price for our arrogance. But there are billions of innocent people in council space who did nothing wrong. They are suffering. They are dying. Will you really let them suffer because of what their leaders did decades ago? Junho was silent for a long moment. He had to admit, that was a good argument. It was not the council members he cared about. It was the ordinary people living under council rule. People who had not voted to exile humanity. People who were now caught in the consequences of their leaders' decisions. There's something you're not telling me, Junho said. What is it? Lyra looked down. Intelligence suggests the Vren are preparing a major military operation. We believe their target is human space. They see your expansion as a threat. If they defeat us first, they will turn their full force against you. This is not just our problem. It is yours, too. Now Junho understood. The council was not just asking for help out of desperation. They were warning humanity of a coming threat. The Vren would not stop with council space. They would come for humanity next. How long do we have? Junho asked. 6 months, Lyra said. Perhaps less. The Vren are building a massive fleet. When they will move fast. Junho stood. I need to take this information back to the Human Assembly. They will make the final decision. But I'll be honest with you. There are a lot of people in human space who remember the exile, who remember being forced from their homes, who remember watching their children cry as they were torn away from friends. They're not going to be eager to help you. We understand, Lyra said. But we hope that humanity is better than we were. We hope that you will not make the same mistake we did. 3 days later, Junho stood before the Human Assembly on Earth. The vast chamber was filled with representatives from every human colony. Chairman Yunjin presided over the meeting, his face grave as Junho finished his report. So the council wants us to save them, said Representative Hana, daughter of the original ambassador Hana Wu. After everything they did to us. They also warn us that the Vren will attack us eventually, Junho pointed out. If we let the council fall, we'll face the Vren alone. We're strong enough to handle the Vren ourselves, someone argued. Maybe, Chairman Yunjin said. But at what cost? How many human lives will be lost in that war? If we can stop the Vren now, while they're focused on the council, we might prevent a much larger conflict later. Ambassador Sua Wu, Hana's great niece, stood. She had been assigned to negotiate with the council if the assembly decided to help. I propose we assist the council, but on our terms. We don't rejoin as subordinates. We rejoin as equals. We demand changes to the entire system. What kind of changes? Someone asked. The council as it exists is broken, Sua said. It's authoritarian, corrupt, and failed. If we're going to help save it, we should transform it into something better, something fair, something that respects all species, including humanity. The debate raged for hours. Some wanted revenge, some wanted isolation, some wanted to help. Finally, Chairman Yoon Jin called for a vote. The result was close, but clear. Humanity would help the council, but they would do it their way. Fleet Admiral Tae Han stood on the bridge of the Celestial Dragon, watching as 300 human warships assembled in formation. Behind him, dozens more fleets were gathering at staging points throughout human space. It was the largest military operation humanity had ever conducted, and it was about to shock the galaxy. "All ships report ready," his second-in-command said. "We can jump on your order." "Send the message to the council," Tae Han said. "Tell them we're coming." The fleet jumped. One moment they were in human space, the next they appeared at the edge of council territory. The human vessels were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Sleek hulls that seemed to shimmer with energy. Weapon systems unlike anything the council had ever seen. Shields that could withstand incredible punishment. This was what humanity had built in their decades of isolation. Council observers watched in stunned silence as the human fleet moved into formation. Ships that size should not be able to move so gracefully. Technology that advanced should not exist. But there it was, undeniable proof that humanity had not just survived the exile, they had transcended it. Ambassador Sua Wu arrived at Council headquarters on Station Proxima. She walked through halls she had only seen in historical videos, past monuments to species that had voted to exile her ancestors. The council chamber itself was almost empty now. Only a few dozen representatives had bothered to show up for what they thought would be a simple formality. They were wrong. The Human Assembly has voted to provide military assistance against the Vren Empire, Sua announced. However, this assistance comes with conditions. Council Speaker Lyra nodded. "We are prepared to negotiate." "These are not negotiations," Sua said firmly. "These are requirements. If you want our help, you will accept them. All of them." The council members shifted uncomfortably. They had expected humanity to be grateful for the chance to rejoin. Instead, Sua spoke with the confidence of someone who held all the cards. "First," Sua said, "the council will issue a formal apology for the exile. A full public apology acknowledging the injustice of what was done." "Agreed," Lyra said quickly. "Second, all quantum barriers between human and council space will be permanently dismantled. There will be free movement and trade between our territories." "Agreed." "Third, humanity will receive a permanent seat on the ruling council with full veto power. All major decisions will require human approval." Murmurs of protest rose from some council members, but Lyra silenced them. "Agreed." "Fourth, the council will provide reparations to all humans who were forced to leave during the exile. These reparations will be substantial and paid over the next 50 years. "That will be expensive," Cole said hesitantly. "You should have thought about that 78 years ago," Sua replied coldly. "Agreed or not?" "Agreed," Lyra said. "Fifth and finally," Sua said, "the Galactic Council as it currently exists will be dissolved. In its place, we will create a new organization, the Galactic Union. This new union will be based on principles of equality, mutual respect, and voluntary cooperation. No species will be forced to join. No species will be exiled, and every species will have a voice." This caused real alarm. "Dissolve the council?" someone protested. "That's impossible. The council has existed for thousands of years." "And it has failed," Sua said. "Look around you. Half your members are gone. Your economy is in ruins. Your military is powerless. Your people are dying from a plague you cannot cure. The council is already dead. We're just making it official." "And if we refuse?" Cole asked. Sua shrugged. "Then we leave. The Vren will destroy you, and eventually they will come for us. But we'll face them alone, on our own terms. You, however, will simply cease to exist." The silence was heavy. Finally, Lyra bowed her head. "We accept your terms. All of them." 2 weeks later, Fleet Admiral Tehan faced the Vren Armada in the Kelly system. The Vren had brought nearly 1,000 warships, a force they thought would be unstoppable. They had not counted on facing humanity. "Target their command ships first," Tehan ordered. "Use weapon pattern Sigma." The human fleet opened fire. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. Human weapons were devastating, combining advanced particle beams, missile swarms, and electromagnetic pulses in coordinated strikes. Human tactics were creative and unpredictable, using maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. Human shields absorbed damage that should have destroyed any ship. The Vren fleet had never faced anything like it. Within 2 hours, they had lost half their ships. Within 3 hours, their command structure had collapsed. Within 4 hours, they were retreating in disorder. Tai Han let them go. "Send a message to the Vren High Command," he said. "Tell them that the Galactic Union is under our protection now. Any further aggression will be met with the full force of human military power. Tell them to choose peace or face extinction." The message was received. The Vren, who had thought themselves invincible, were humbled. They sued for peace within a week. While the fleet was securing military victory, Dr. Nari Sung was securing a medical one. She arrived on Council worlds with teams of human doctors and massive supplies of medicine. The plague that had killed thousands was no match for human genetic therapy. Within weeks, the disease was contained. Within months, it was eradicated completely. Nari did not charge anything for this service. "We're not doing this for profit," she told the grateful council populations. "We're doing this because it's the right thing to do." The human response to the plague won hearts and minds across council space. People began to question why their leaders had ever feared humanity. These were not monsters or conquerors. These were healers and protectors. 6 months after humanity's return, the formal ceremony was held. The Galactic Council was officially dissolved. In its place, the Galactic Union was born. The founding charter was signed by representatives from 70 species, including humanity. The old hierarchies were gone. In their place was a true democracy where every species had equal representation. The Union would not impose its will on anyone. Instead, it would facilitate cooperation, protect the weak, and promote peace. Ambassador Sua stood at the podium, looking out at the assembled representatives. "Today marks a new beginning," she said. "Not just for humanity, but for all of us. The old ways failed because they were based on fear and control. The Union will succeed because it is based on respect and freedom." She paused, looking at the empty seats where the old council leadership used to sit. "Some of you still fear humanity. You think we are too aggressive, too ambitious, too different. You are right. We are all of those things. But that is not a weakness. It is our strength. And now, it is the Union's strength, too." Years later, on the anniversary of the exile, a memorial was unveiled on Earth. It showed the old transport ships leaving council space, families looking back at the homes they were forced to abandon. But it also showed the Phoenix arriving, weapons blazing, to defend those who had once cast them out. Old Captain Jin Tae attended the ceremony. He was 110 years old now, kept alive and healthy by the medical advances his people had developed. His great-great-granddaughter Gina stood beside him. She was a starship captain, commanding one of the Union's newest exploration vessels. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" Gina asked. Jin smiled. "When they forced us away, I was angry, hurt. I wanted revenge. But now I understand that the exile was a gift. It forced us to rely on ourselves, to discover what we were truly capable of, to become who we were meant to be." "And what were we meant to be?" Jin looked up at the stars. "Leaders, not through conquest or force, but through example. We showed the galaxy that there is a better way, that freedom and cooperation are stronger than control and fear. The Council tried to push us into darkness. Instead, we became the light. Around them, humans and aliens mingled freely. Children of different species played together. Trade flourished. Scientific cooperation produced breakthroughs every day. The galaxy was changing, becoming something better than it had ever been. And at the heart of it all was humanity. The species that had been rejected and exiled. The species that had survived and thrived. The species that had come back not for revenge, but for redemption. The Council had forced humanity away, thinking they were solving a problem. Instead, they had created exactly what the galaxy needed. A people who had learned to stand alone and who now chose to stand with others. Not above them, beside them. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again, and humanity would never forget the lessons learned in those long years of exile. They had been cast out into the darkness and had emerged as something extraordinary. They had become the ones everyone turned to when hope was needed, and they would never let the galaxy down.